The trolleybus, transit's stepchild, and until more recent times, it was often a very utilitarian-looking vehicle. But there was one trolleybus that was designed to be classier than the rest. This is the story of the Tatra T401, the trolleybus created with style in mind. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, throughout the 20th century, the trolleybus has been quite a utilitarian-looking vehicle. However, in the 1950s, Tatra tried to change that with their new T401 prototype. The T401 exhibited bold new styling, unlike any other trolleybus that had come before it. However, all of this new styling turned out to be its downfall, and the production of trolleybuses then became the province of Skoda in Eastern Europe. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the Tatra T401 prototype trolleybus. Trolleybuses in the Czech Republic are mainly associated with the Skoda brand. However, in the past, the Tatra Automobile Company was also involved in electric trackless vehicles whose T400 trolleybus served in Prague and Bratislava. It was to be replaced by the legendary T401 model, which fell into oblivion and remained only a short-lived prototype. The history of the unique Tatra T401 dates back to the mid-1950s, when the manufacturer was then actively involved in trolleybus production. Between 1948 and 1955, the company built almost 200 units of the T400 model. The T400 was a 3-axle vehicle with a Tatra chassis and electrical equipment from Czech, which transported passengers in Prague, Bratislava, Ostrava, and Litvinov. They served Prague until the early 1970s. Tatra also collaborated with Czech on the intended successor, the T401 model. It was to be based on a completely new design. Tatra thus constructed the chassis. Czech supplied the electrical equipment, while the bodywork was handled by Karosa, which also completed the final assembly of the trolleybus. The T401 was the first Tatra trolleybus to be bodied outside the home plant. Work on the project lasted 3 years, and the prototype first hit the road in Prague in 1958. From then on until sometime in 1960, it tested without passengers. During this period, it was compared with its direct competitor, the Skoda 9TR trolleybus. Due to the anticipated high cost of its manufacture and its 3-axle arrangement, it did not go into series production. After comparative trials, the prototype was handed over to the Prague Transport Company for full passenger service, where it received registration number 461. However, in 1961, it was officially retired. The body, designed by the famed František Kardus, was conceived quite boldly from a stylistic point of view, with unconventionally designed headlights, large wrap-around windshields, elegantly shaped bumpers, decorative aluminum molding, panoramic windows, and glazing that curved into the roof, making the interior airy and light. And the shape of the roof was reminiscent of trams of the time. Entry was provided by 3 fully electro-pneumatically controlled doors, which were a modern feature of their time. The interior itself was also modern, using transversely oriented fiberglass seats, later famous in the T3 trams, which replaced the wooden benches usually used at that time. And there was fluorescent lighting, and the driver had pneumatic power steering. The 2 rear axles were driven but are rigid axles, which are not typical for Tatra, with separate suspension of each axle with 2 pairs of leaf springs supplemented by lever shock absorbers. The electric motors were adapted from Tatra's T-Series trams. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the Tatra T401 Trolleybus. Number 1, length is 11.97 meters. Number 2, width is 2.5 meters. Number 3, height is 3.28 meters. Number 4, empty weight is 11,345 kilograms. Number 5, passenger capacity is 26 seated plus 53 standing. Number 6, there are 4 traction series motors generating 35 kilowatts each. And finally, number 7, top speed is 70 kilometers per hour. While the T401 was interesting in terms of design, it came at a very inopportune time. The end of the 1950s was marked by the boom in bus transport. Buses, thanks to the then cheap diesel fuel, seemed to be a more suitable solution. Environmentally friendly operation was not a concern at the time, and no overhead infrastructure was needed. Many Czechoslovak cities were abandoning trolleybuses at the time, while others did not even introduce them, which ultimately affected the future of the Tatra T401. As only one prototype was built, there were derived types that did not even make it from the drawing board to implementation, such as the 4-axle T402 and the short 10-meter T403. The Tatra T401 thus marked the end of the manufacturer's trolleybuses. In the following years, the production of trolleybuses in Czechoslovakia was exclusively the responsibility of Skoda within the framework of the centrally planned economy. In March of 1962, T401 was acquired by the chief designer of the Tatra company, Vladimir Popolak, who donated it to the company museum of the Tatras. 10 years later, it ended up in the public transport collection of the Technical Museum in Brno, which subsequently sent it to Ostrava, where it suffered from acts of vandalism. It was later returned to Brno, where its rebuilding began and continued for a decade. The trolleybus is now nearing completion of its renovation. The driver's compartment, some windows, doors, and interior lighting still need completion, but it's a happy sight to see the progress that's been made. It is planned to be fully operational once again. And so there it is, the story of the T401, the last trolleybus built by Tatra. Now what's interesting here is that trolleybus service ended in Prague in 1972. However, over the last couple of years, trolleybuses have been reintroduced back into that city, and that's a very encouraging sign, especially in this day and age of EV-type buses. This is very different from, let's say, Boston, Massachusetts, that have recently gotten rid of their trolleybuses and replaced them with either EV vehicles or hybrid vehicles. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Tatra T401 trolleybus. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.